Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be looking at the Barbarian shout known as Battle Cry. Battle Cry has also been added, by the way, to the Barbarian in Act 5. If you take a look, the Bash Barbarian has Battle Cry in his repertoire, and it's a pretty high level too. It's level 23, which is about the same level as mine right now. So if you are interested in Battle Cry, even if you're not a Barbarian, you can utilize the one on the Act 5 Barbarian. Battle Cry has some very interesting effects on it. Most notably is the enemy defense subtraction. So enemy defense is actually really powerful in that it completely negates the monster's defense. So for instance, with negative 94% enemy defense, you're looking at basically zero defense on most targets. So you don't even really need that much attack rating to actually hit anything. Take for instance, let's go to River of Flame. And let's grab a monster. And we got a couple of monsters. Now, Battlecry has a relatively short distance that it travels, so you do have to be kind of close to the monsters for them to get hit. The little effect is considered a curse, and it will overwrite other curses. However, there's also a little known fact about this ability is that it actually affects a lot of monsters that can't be cursed, because it doesn't actually technically reside in the curse category. So not only does it affect the regular monsters, it also affects monsters that are uncursable. The negative 94% defense allows us to hit the targets basically for free. We don't have to worry about any kind of defense effect that they might have. This effect also works on bosses. It is something that has a reduced effectiveness though. So it is half effectiveness versus bosses. So instead of 94%, we're looking at, what is it, 47% or something like that. I can't remember exactly. My quick math is terrible. But it's still extremely effective versus bosses because of the negative defense that it offers, which means you'll have a much easier time hitting those monsters. In fact, let's see if we can find some elites real quick. Let's go to Fire Eye real quick. Why not? I like picking on him. It's fun to pick on Fire Eye. So here we have a group of elites. So we have Moon Shield and his little minions. And we've brought basically all their defenses down to basically nothing. But as you can see, when my life tap procs, it overrides the life tap, and if I proc it while life tap is up, it will override the life tap, and vice versa. This is kind of a downside, in my opinion, a pretty big downside, because in general, when it comes to curses, especially as a melee character, you kind of like to have your amplify damage, your decrepify, your life tap, and things like that are definitely going to be a little bit more important than Battle Cry, which is not going to really help you out very much. But versus bosses and things like that have extremely high defense, like for instance the Ubers, which are very high defense monsters, Battle Cry can actually come in handy to help make sure that you're landing your hits where you otherwise might not be able to. The negative enemy damage is decent, but it's strictly physical damage, and it's not going to help you very much versus the elemental damage attacks. And on top of that, you have to be really close to use it. As you can clearly see, it's not like I can just like portal in and immediately start spamming it on all monsters nearby. It has to be monsters that are directly near me. And once it's up, it does last for a pretty long period of time, so it's not like you have to spam it on them over and over again. Just a once or twice cast. Specifically, though, I don't really see the Barbarian himself having a lot of issues with defense, with attack rating. So I can't really say that this would be like the most amazing thing specifically for Barbarians. On the Barbarian Merc, though, it could come in handy for classes that do come into attack rating issues. But the main thing that I'm thinking here is that it doesn't really hit a lot of monsters. It's not like Inner Sight, which hits like everything on the screen. it's more or less just a small little debuff that you can apply to the monsters in your immediate area. And because of that, it doesn't really have the same kind of usefulness as everything else. I would almost like to see Battle Cry become more of a larger radius ability, to kind of make up for the fact that it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it. There's no synergies involved really with the ability except for Warcry, and you would have to specifically be a Warcry Barbarian for that to be useful. But then the other thing here is that Warcry has no attack rating or defense concerns. So why specifically pair Battlecry with Warcry when it would be a much better pairing with a melee ability, something that actually does require attack rating? I'm not exactly sure what, right off the top of my head. Maybe Whirlwind. It could be an interesting synergy for Whirlwind. It could be a much more interesting synergy for Double Throw or Double Swing, Bash or Stun. I mean, any of these things, honestly, probably would have a much better time than Warcry. And Warcry could have something else be a synergy with it. I'm not really sure exactly what, but I don't really feel like Battle Cry is the right cry for Warcry synergy, because it doesn't really give it any benefit whatsoever. Taunt, at least, can be useful to a Warcry Barbarian to bring everything nearby so that you can, obviously dish out more damage, because the closer they are, the better. Whereas Battle Cry, on the other hand, it doesn't really do anything for the Warcry Barbarian. I don't really think there's much more to go over with this particular ability. It's not really a very complicated ability, and honestly, I don't think it's really that great of an ability either, unless you just really need that negative defense on your character. As always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.